Yes. Yes. So before we start, we want to introduce the panelists of the night. As usual, our content specialist, marketing content specialist, Carrie Lazar. She's here with us. She's gonna be monitoring the chat with me as well. If you have any questions, please make sure that you type them in the chat, or you can use the Q&A feature. We will really appreciate that. So any questions that you may have while Milton is speaking, you're more than welcome to type them. And it doesn't matter what the question is, we will do our best to answer your questions. And the presenter of the night is, drum roll, Milton Aguilar Bolaños. He's our membership development officer. He's, a pro at this presentation. So with all that being said, oh, and don't forget, my name is Eddie Villanueva. I'm the member engagement specialist, and I will be monitoring the chat with Carrie, like I said. So with that being said, Milton, take it away.
Thank you, Eddie. That was a great introduction, sir. I appreciate it, and thank you all for taking part and being with all of our members on again what you said. Another interesting webinar here that we have prepared for all of you. So again, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you all for making time out of your busy days, busy schedule. And as my colleague was alluded to earlier, Carrie, June is the Elder Abuse Awareness Month. So this is perfectly, it's in line with what we want to focus in for the entire month of June. So we're just trying to, in essence, what we're doing, we're just getting a little bit of a head start here and since June 1st is tomorrow. So with that being said, so again, our topic, preventing elder financial abuse. So what we're going to be doing on this webinar, we just want to provide you with some tips and tools on how you can protect yourself and also your loved ones. So let's dive into the presentation. The data that you see in here, the numbers that you see in here, I want you all to know that this is the information that we have received from the FBI, from the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And let's take a look. Let's dive into what's here. What does this numbers really mean? So right off the bat, let me tell you that the numbers that you see in here, it's pretty much anyone that is over 60 or 60 years or older. So in 2022, there was a total of 88,262 cases of complaints related to elder abuse. What's very alarming is going to be the following number. If you can see that there was a total of 3.1 billion. Again, let me repeat that. 3.1 billion total losses for the entire 2022. That number is very, very alarming. I will also say that this is an increase. And again, I'm just focusing on the dollar amount here, but this is a 84% increase in losses that we saw in 2021. While the number of complaints has decreased since 2020, the dollar amount that the individuals are losing has more than tripled. And again, so this is very, very alarming. In average, last year, every victim was averaging about just a little bit over $35,000 in losses. And this next number here that we put all the way at the bottom is the one that is the biggest concern, and especially because we actually have seen that impacting some of our members at the credit union, and that is that over 5,400 victims lost more than $100,000. So again, this is a very alarming number, and it's so that is the reason why we wanted to focus on this particular topic for the whole month of June. So again, thank you all so much for taking your time and coming in on board. And as we go in on this presentation, I wanted to mention what Eddie said. If anybody has any questions or concern, make sure that you put those in the chat. I will tell you that we here at the United States Senate Federal Credit Union, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of a lot of tips and tools that we can provide to you if you or a loved one has ever becomes a victim of financial abuse. So with that being said, what is elder financial abuse? Again, pretty self-explanatory, but it is this particular abuse that refers to the exploitation or manipulation of other individuals for financial gains. It involves unauthorized or improper use of an elder person's funds, property, or assets. It's very important to note the last one here. And also, elder financial abuse can take various forms, such as fraud, scam, identity theft, just to name a few. So you may ask yourself, why are older adults targeted? The number one reason why the criminals are going after older adults, that's going to be because they tend to be a lot more trusting, and we're going to dive into as to why this is actually becoming an issue. But let me say that trusting is definitely one of the biggest reasons why the criminals are going after the older adults. Also, we know that older adults are more likely to have savings. They might also own real estate, any properties, and they can also have own valuable things. So again, it's just it's sort of like a magnet for the criminals and what they're looking for on how they can easily gain access to an easy buck, if you want to put it like that. Another reason why they target them is because most likely they will be a little less tech savvy, and especially with the amount of crime that we have been seeing recently. A lot of times, this is happening on the web, on the dark web, and so again, they're just looking for easy targets. Another one also, it could also be cognitive or physical impairments that might prevent them from making, sound decision or best judgment when it comes to their finances. And the last one, and this is the one that really hits home, that they're less likely to report it once it starts to happen. So again, this is just to name a few, but this list can grow, can be beyond this. So we need to make sure that we're looking out, and finding ways on how we can protect ourselves and our loved ones. And then you may ask yourself, who are the people that are committing these crimes? And you'd be surprised to know that, based on the data that we have received in the cases that we have seen just alone here at the credit union, oftentimes those people that are committing those crimes are going to be family members. People that they're very close, within the close circle. Those normally tend to be the ones that that can try to take advantage of an opportunity and take money or steal valuable items from an older person. Also, caregivers, whether it's paid or unpaid, again, they're in their close circle, and it just makes them, gives them an easy access, and they can see what this person owns. And again, it depending on the level of trust that they have, they can easily take advantage of that and abuse their powers. And last but not least, scammers and fraudsters. I mean, again, there's so many different scams that are going on nowadays, whether it's on the website, on the phone, you name it. The list of this type of cases, we continue to see a rise on them, and it's very alarming. So we need to make sure that we are preparing ourselves, and then we are giving you the tools on what to do in order to protect you and your loved ones. Now, you may ask yourself, what are some of the complications that result from being a victim of financial abuse? And the one thing that we do see a lot is that the number one reason that we see, number one complication, I'm sorry, that we see is that oftentimes the other person will be reluctant to end the abuse because, as I alluded to on the previous slide, the people that tend to commit, such crimes happen to be somebody in the close circle, such a family or friend or a caregiver. So again, having being afraid to report someone to the authorities can be a tough decision, and so again it makes it a little bit it adds a layer of complication to when you want to report that. Also, it can also mean that there's physical or emotional suffering. And again, to circle back what I just said, especially if it is somebody, and somebody close to them, somebody that they trust, and all of a sudden they find out that that individual is now stealing from them, or is taking some of their possessions away. So once they find that, again, it does become takes a huge toll on their physical and emotional being. And as I mentioned on my second slide, which when we were looking at the numbers, all the losses to their money, their time, retirement income, homes, residence, self-esteem, and independence. I mean, this is just to name a few what some of the complications that arise once a person has become a victim of financial abuse. So how does it happen? Again, as I said before, exploitation by a family member, anyone that is in the close circle, scam and fraud, caregiver abuse, identity theft, misuse of power of attorney or guardianship. I mean, this is just to name a few. I want us to focus ourselves here in what are some of the most common scams that we see, and this is actually referring to the data that we see here at the credit union. Whenever I'm talking to our risk department, and then we start reviewing all of this different claims that we receive, and you'll be surprised that number one scam that we're seeing recently are it's coming from people that are making phone calls, and they are telling our members that they are calling from tech support, or just normal computer scams. How many of you are familiar with Geek Squad? For those that are not very familiar with Geek Squad, it is a tech support company that partners with Best Buy. I remember back in the days, if anybody, if for those people that had a need of buying a computer, you will walk into a Best Buy store, you will pick your computer, take it to the register, and before you pay, the cashier will ask you, would you like to protect your computer, and take advantage of the tech support that we provide through Geek Squad. And don't get me wrong, it is a great service, it's a great feature, but oftentimes criminals, they pretend to be an employee from Geek Squad, and that's how they're now finding ways to get into a person and then be able to steal and their information, that everything that they store on their computer. So again, you have to be very careful and very mindful whenever you are receiving phone calls, and it's telling you that they're calling you from any tech support company. That one, you pause, you take a break, and you verify and make sure that the person that is calling you or the company that is calling you, it is in fact legitimate. I must add that the scammers, they're getting better every time. Now they have technology where they actually are able to manipulate caller IDs, where when you see a caller ID coming into your to your cell phone or your home, you'll be able to see a particular name that it might look legitimate, but once you start doing a little bit more investigation, you realize that perhaps that's not legitimate. So again, we need to be very careful and very mindful whenever we are getting calls, and then those people on the other line are pretending to be from a tech support company. So if that ever happens, our advice is that you hang up, you pick up the phone number and call the company that you do business with, whether it's a Geek Squad, whether it's any tech support company that you use. Call the number that you had that was provided whenever you signed a contract or you started the membership, and call the phone number and then verify with them that if in fact there is something going on with your computer. And if it is, obviously, you have that peace of mind, but you took an additional step to verify it and make sure that you didn't fall victim on the first call that you received. The next one, government impersonation scams. I mean, this is something that it was very popular. As many of you know, tax season just ended. And I know we saw a couple of cases that was reported to the credit union that was coming from individuals that told us that they received a call from the IRS, and the IRS was charging the taxes. And so with that being said, those people were, impersonating an IRS agent, and they use all of this tactics to put fear into yourself, and oftentimes they will just try to intimidate you and let you know that if you don't pay taxes, they're going to send the sheriff's office to your house. You're going to be arrested because you owe an X amount of money to the IRS, and that you need to make a payment immediately. So again, one thing I will tell you, that if that ever happens to you, if you ever receive a phone call and the person on the other line is putting a lot of pressure and it's making you pay for something right away, just hang up. A legitimate government agency will never do that to you. So if that's something that if you ever go through that and listen to what they're saying, and oftentimes you'd be surprised that the criminal might have already a lot of information on you, so they're going to start telling you things that are making sense, right? Like they're like, okay, actually this is me. But again, once it gets to the part where they actually are looking to make you pay for something over the phone, and they want to collect your account information, your checking account or your credit or debit card numbers, that's when you need to pause, take a break, and ask yourself, is this truly legitimate? And you'll be surprised. Oftentimes, some people fall for it. And so it truly is, something that for us, I mean, for me, it gets my blood going, just because knowing that, this particular individual are going and they're targeting all their adults, and they're just finding a way to make an easy buck, like I said before. So with that, the next common scam that we're seeing a lot is the sweepstake and the lottery scams. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. The grandparent scams, online shopping scam. I mean, just to name a few. The most important thing, again, that we must do is that we need to be very careful. We need to do our due diligence before we start providing any information over the phone, especially when the person on the other line, on the other end, is asking you to provide them with your bank account information or credit or debit card. So once that happens, if you still think that it's legitimate, again, just hit the brakes, hang up, and call the phone number do a research, look up the phone number, legitimate phone number, and call the agency or call the financial institution, whoever it is that is pretending to call you, and just do your part. But it is important, again, that we do our part in our end to protect ourselves and not fall victims of any scams. Now, what are some of the signs that you start noticing if you or a loved one has become a victim of financial abuse. The most common thing that we see a lot is that that they're going to start noticing that some of those bills are going to start to go unpaid. There's a large amount of junk mail, large cash withdrawals at the financial institutions, and also you start seeing activity on the credit cards on a card that hasn't been used in a while. Again, that could be a red flag. Also, if a caregiver or a family is no longer providing for the older adults, changes in personality, demeanor, hygiene, self-care, all of a sudden there are valuable things that are now missing, or there are unusual new friends, new name on accounts, changes in the will or a beneficiary, social isolations, calls from debt collectors, strange changes on a medical bill, and perhaps the home it's in a state of disrepair. Again, this is just to name a few signs. And if you ever notice any of this, this might be the time to start taking action, because again, these are just big red flags for you to look for, especially if you're one that is taking care of or looking out for an older adult. Now, what can you do, and what can you do for the loved ones in to protect yourself and others? The most important thing, and this is something that I highly encourage, for those that have documents that are no longer needed, especially all bank statements, credit card statements, you name it. If there's no longer a need for it, I highly encourage you all to shred those documents. Investing in a shredding machine is not expensive. You can find one on the web, on Amazon, on whatever you do your shopping at, and you can find a very reasonable shredding machine for less than $50. The other thing that you can do, most financial institutions offer the services of sharing those documents for you as well too. So again, that's something that we do at the credit union. If you have a lot of documents that are no longer needed, there's a need for you to have them laying around in the house. Shred them, bring it over to us. We'll be more than happy to shred them for you. Also, if you have any accounts that you're no longer using, especially credit cards or bank accounts, multiple bank accounts that there's no longer a need for them, go ahead and get rid of those. That's just liability that you don't want, and that's going to help you again, protect yourself. Also, it is very important that you never give out your personal information over the phone. If anybody ever calls you and they start trying to gather personal information, that's a sign. That's a red flag. So avoid providing any personal information over the phone to a person that you don't know. And nowadays, let me tell you this: with all of this artificial intelligence that is going on, criminals are even able to mimic voices of people that might be familiar to you. So you just never know, and unless the person is in front of you and you really trust them, go ahead and do that. But if it's somebody that is claiming to be X, Y, and Z, and then you really have no knowledge whether or not that person it is who they claim to be, do not provide any personal information. Also, use safe online security practices. If you browse the web, if you're one of those people that's always browsing on the web, make sure that whenever you go to this website, that you verify the URL. If you see a little lock that is next to the website, that tells you that particular website that you're visiting is secure. So again, just take an additional second just to verify, and make sure that if you are on the web, that you're browsing websites that are actually safe for you to visit. Another thing that I highly encourage, to get yourself on the do not call list. This is something that is very easy to do. You can just go online and put your phone number, and so that is going to eliminate all of those marketing companies. It's gonna block them from trying to reach you. And so it is important that if you don't want to be getting, all those marketing calls, just get yourself on the do not call list, and that will alleviate that. That was going to eliminate that headache. And again, if you ever receive a phone call from a government entity, make sure that you follow the proper steps to verify that it is in fact legitimate. Again, as I alluded to before, criminals are now able to mimic caller IDs, and that shows that the phone call is actually in fact coming from government agencies. So make sure that before you start providing any information, that again you do your due diligence, that you do verify, that make sure that the number that they're calling you from is legitimate. And if it is, if it's not, I'm sorry, just hang up and block the phone number that called you. But again, the first initiative, it has to come from us. We need to be always on high alert, and just know that oftentimes, especially when it comes to scams, if it sounds too good to be true, more likely it's not. So again, we need to be very, very, very careful. More things to do to protect yourself. This one, I always tell all of my members that you must check your bank statement every month. Now, for those that have access to their online banking, do it more frequent. I mean, you don't have to wait. For your monthly statement to be sent to your house in order for you to see what's happening with your accounts. If you have online banking, log in on a daily basis or at least weekly to make sure that everything that is reporting, it's in fact transactions that you have initiated. Also, store and safely protect all your financial information. This is definitely another thing that I highly encourage to all of our members, that if you have any sensitive information, that it is kept in a secure location. I know that, I mean, I might sound a little bit too extreme right now, but there are some financial institutions that provide safe deposit boxes. So if you have something that is very delicate, and you don't feel that it's safe to have it at home, by all means, look to see, what options you have, and perhaps, storing those documents in a safe deposit box, or buying a safe yourself and have it at home. That could also be another option to look for as well. Also, make sure that you choose a trustworthy person to help you with your financial planning. That is definitely important. And the next one, this is something that I can't remember how many presentations that I've done, but I feel like I almost bring it every other webinar that I do. And that is that, visit the annualcreditreport.com to get a copy of your credit report for free. As many of you may or may not know, but the government gives you you have the ability to receive a copy of your credit report for free every 12 months from each of the 3 agencies. My advice is that you always take advantage of that and break it into the whole calendar year, and so that you are looking at your credit report at least every 4 months. If you do that, you'll be able to see exactly what's showing on your credit report. And if there's anything that looks, out of the ordinary, take action and report it to the authorities, and then, find a way to resolve that issue. But, looking at your credit report will definitely be very beneficial, especially if somebody's got a hold of your information and all of a sudden they're opening accounts under your name and such. So very important that you take advantage of the resources that are available to you, and especially when it's free. And last but not least, let's make sure that we ask for more information and get a second opinion. It never hurts to consult with somebody else. If you are receiving calls from different agencies or different places, and you're just not 100% sure, and then if your gut is telling you know what, this might not be right, it probably isn't. So if for those that have a support network, I highly encourage that you reach out to them and let them know what's happening and see what their advice might be. Now, what are some of the things that you can do to protect your loved ones? Again, it's very important that you have an open communication. Encourage regular conversations about finances with elder family members. It is very important that we do that. Financial planning and legal documents also is going to help. It helps the seniors create a comprehensive financial plan and ensure that legal documents are up to date, and regular. Again, keep track of all your activities that you have with your accounts. Be offer yourself to take the time to review their statements. Perhaps once they've ordered a credit report, have be there and then go through the credit report and look to make sure that everything that shows there, it's in fact theirs. And last but not least, make sure that you set up alerts for large transactions or any other suspicious activities on their account. This is something that here at the credit union we offer to all of our members, and which I'm going to talk about on the next slide here for you guys. But you may ask yourself, what can the United States Senate Federal Credit Union do to help me? And I'll tell you that that one of the things that I highly recommend is that for you to identify a trusted person that we may contact should we see anything unusual on your accounts. Again, we are able to add notes to every member's profile, and when we can add put in the name of a person that you chosen to for us to contact should we suspect anything unusual. And again, if you do see anything that it just looks a little funky, you need to make sure that you report it to us right away. Do not wait. The longer you wait, the more you put yourself at risk, and the higher the dollar amount that you're risking yourself of losing. And I will say this, that every branch personnel here at the credit union is trained to recognize signs of elder financial exploitation, and we are trained to escalate and report everything to the appropriate local, state, and federal agencies. So that's something that we take very serious here at the credit union. So we do always an ongoing training for all of our staff, and then for ways for us to look to see if there's anything that just doesn't look normal. And the last thing here, as I was mentioning in the previous slide, is that we highly encourage that you set up account alerts for any large transactions or any other suspicious activities. So this one is an easy one. Just go to my.ussfcu.org, log into your online banking account, go to the settings tab under security, and then set up all the alerts that you need to, just so that it gives you an additional peace of mind. Now, what happens if you suspect that in fact financial abuse is going on? The first thing that we highly recommend, that is going to be that you need to gather all the evidence, document any suspicious financial activity, any missing possessions or changes in spending. Keep a record of the conversations with the elder about the financial concerns. Report it to the appropriate authorities. Contact law enforcement, Dog Protective Services, or any other relevant agency that needs to be contacted. And also reach out to support networks, inform family members, friends, and trusted neighbors of your concerns. Seek guidance from professionals such as attorneys, financial planners, social workers, someone that can help you navigate a situation and provide support. And that includes us. So if you do suspect of anything, give us a call. Here, us at the credit union will be more than happy to look into and provide a second opinion. And if in fact that is something that is happening, we'll be able to gather all the transactions in our end, so that we can prepare and have a file for you, and so that you can give that to the appropriate authorities. Now, as I was mentioning before, it is important that we let law enforcement know, and that the report must be made. Also, we need to report that to the Adult Protective Services, and also any government agency that needs to be involved, especially if a crime happened online and it's perhaps from a person overseas. Then the FBI might need to be involved, and such. So again, it is very important that we do take the necessary steps to report the abuse once it's happening. And last but not least, we also encourage that you seek legal counsel, especially if the dollar amount that you lost is very significant. Now, here is a list of the resources that we want to provide for everyone. Just so you know, this presentation will be emailed to everyone that attended this webinar. So if they, we highly encourage you that you visit these links that we are sent, that we're providing here for you. And then one thing that I must say before I end my presentation, and that is that the United States Senate Federal Credit Union, we are a proud member of the National Association Senior Advocates. In fact, we've received an award from them for the best credit union for 2023, just because of everything that we do, and all the things that we have in place to help our seniors, protect our seniors account, and provide them with all the resources and tools. If you need additional information, I highly encourage that you visit the website, www.naosa.org. They also provide a lot of great information, a lot of resources and tools for you to take advantage of. With that being said, this is going to bring me to the end of my presentation. I truly hope that you found this helpful, and I guess we're going to go ahead and open it up for any questions. Eddie, Carrie, do we have any questions in the chat or the Q&A?
Wow, that was a lot of information, Milton, but at the same time, it was very informative. And like I always say, I always learn something new. And I believe that I'm not the only one this afternoon that learned something new. I'm sure that everybody can take something out of this presentation. So as always, Milton, great job. And thank you very much for sharing your experience and knowledge regarding this very, very important topic that, as we know, is growing. Like you're saying, the fraudsters are getting, smarter and things like that. So it's good to review, these topics and the measurements that we, each member should take regarding if they get a fake call, like you were saying, hang up and call them directly and things like that. So that was amazing. One of the questions that I have a couple questions. One of the questions that we have on the Q&A feature is from an anonymous attendee. And they're saying, how will you know if the credit report is not correct? So what example can you give us to know that the credit report might look a little suspicious or a little funky? Based on your experience, what will you have people look at to see if the report is correct or not?
Well, yeah, that's actually a great question, Eddie. I mean, and the first thing, obviously, though, that you want to look whenever you're reviewing your credit report, is to make sure that that any loans, anything that is related to lending, even employment history, believe it or not, you'll be able to see that on your credit report. So one always knows what loans they have open, and if you see something that it just doesn't look right, I mean, that's definitely going to be a big red flag. Also, if there is perhaps multiple inquiries of trying to get credit, you'll be able to see that the companies that are pulling your credit, because that will be considered a hard pull, so that will be reported to your credit report. So if you know that you haven't applied, for example, you haven't applied to a car loan in the last 12 months, but then you're seeing inquiries for a car loan on your credit report, that means that, hey, this is actually a red flag. So maybe somebody has access to my information and they're attempting to make a loan. Hopefully it's at that stage where you can still prevent it. But obviously, it's late once there is in fact a loan that is under your name that you never open yourself. So that will be one of the things that you will know, that will be a giveaway.
Another one that I can think of from the top of my head, Milton, I can agree with that. It kind of goes, is just to piggyback right on what you were saying. Let's say that you know that you don't have any debt at all, that you pay off your credit cards. Let's say your mortgage is paid off, your car loan and everything. And then all of the sudden you see a balance in your credit report. I believe that's a red flag, because if you know that everything is paid off and you see a balance that's pending on its due, or you're late on the payment, then that's some of the things that you can look at when you're looking at your credit report. So, great suggestions. Milton, as usual, that was a great answer. I have another question from one of the attendees. What safe online security practices do you recommend? Do you have anything particular that you would recommend for our attendees this evening regarding online security practices?
Absolutely, Eddie. I mean, as I actually mentioned it in one of the slides, and that is that for those that are frequent users of the web, that you need to make sure that that with every website that you visit in, always check the URL right next to the address bar. Whenever you input the address bar on your browser, and you actually get into the website, you will be able to see a little lock that shows next to the URL, next to the web address. If you see the lock there, that means that the website is safe and secure, that you'll be able to browse it without any problem. And I will tell you that 90% of the websites that you see out there that are reputable, they're going to have the safety feature. So it is important for you to do that. Also, if you ever received an email with a link for you to visit, claiming to be from any reputable company, and then all of a sudden you click, and then you start noticing that name just looks a little odd, or the name is a little bit longer than usual, again, that's just a big red flag. So if that ever happens, immediately close the browser. Do not attempt to go in there, and especially do not put your information, because one of the things that criminals are doing nowadays, they're actually mimicking legitimate websites where they look authentic. They look like they're actually, in fact, legit. But you start noticing that, and I'm referring to, because this is something that I saw a friend of mine. He received an email from his bank, letting him know that he needed to update his account, and he clicked on it. He saw that it looked very, very it looked like the same website that you will see on the legitimate end. And then when he went put into his credentials, he put his credentials properly, but when he clicked logged in, the website didn't go anywhere, or it just crashed. And he was like, "What's going on? These are my credentials." Long story short, the criminal was able to steal his credentials, and now he had access to get into his online banking, because he had the user ID and the password that he used. And so he was blown away when that happened. And again, it can happen to anyone. But the most important thing, again, that you must do is that always take an additional second to verify that if in fact the places that you're visiting online are truly legitimate. And most internet browsers nowadays, they come with those features that will tell you whether or not a particular site is safe, and you might receive a warning as well too that tells you, you do it at your own risk, type of thing.
All right, Milton, that was great information. And I think it comes back to what you were saying on the presentation. If a company is rushing you to pay something or putting pressure on you to do something that you don't really want to do, take a deep breath, take a step back, hang up the phone or disregard that email and call the company directly. Here in the credit union, if you ever get a marketing email that you might think it might be suspicious or no, or you have your doubts, or if you get a call, always call the 800 our call center number, which is 800-374-2758, and one of our friendly representatives will confirm with you if that was an actually legitimate email from marketing, a call from marketing, or for any of the departments. But like I say on the chat, I don't know if anybody had the chance to read it or not, but the United States Senate Federal Credit Union will never call you directly to ask you for your PIN number, social security number, or even account information. So just keep those things in mind. Also, I have another question from an anonymous attendee. They wrote to me personally that they didn't want to, to put it out there in the public. You know how you were talking about having, people that you can trust and tell people if you're going through something and things like that. Can you describe if there's a difference between having a beneficiary in your account versus a joint person, or are they the same thing?
No, it's totally separate, totally different, Eddie. And that's also another great question. When you have a beneficiary on the account, that person is not able to access your account, is not able to do any transactions in your account. They're just there in case if something happens to you. Then there will be the people that will receive any funds that are in that particular account. But that's the only thing that a beneficiary can do. On the other end, a joint owner actually has full access to the account, so they can transact on the account without any additional authorization from the main owner of the particular account. So that would be the biggest difference. So again, beneficiary, they're just there, to receive the funds. If something was to happen to you, the funds will be provided to them, and they cannot do any transactions on your account. So again, it's very important that you'll know that the person that a beneficiary cannot have access to your account. They cannot see, your statements. They cannot make a change or anything, such as switching a phone number or a mailing address or anything like that. So a beneficiary cannot do that. On the other end, joint owner has capabilities of doing anything on that account.
All right, perfect. That's a good, that's a great example that you gave us to know the differences. So attendees, if you have somebody personally like, oh, it made me a joint account in your, in your personal banking, I won't do anything. Just make sure that you take the, the measurements that you need to do on your end to see if you want them to be a joint member in your account or if you want them to be a beneficiary. Carrie, do you see any questions on your end?
Yeah, there were a few more in the chat box about staying safe while shopping online, and staying signed into commerce sites like Amazon and Shein or Instacart, those types of things. Can you kind of talk a bit about that, Milton?
Can you repeat the question again, Carrie? I'm sorry.
Can we trust online banking and online shopping? Basically, can we trust online shopping? Is it safe to stay logged in to online accounts like Amazon or Instacart?
Yeah, most of the companies, especially the ones that you mentioned, they do have a very strong layer of security, so that they make it a little hard for anyone to try to get access to. I know that Amazon and Instacart, some of those places that you mentioned, they offer 2 layers of security. So whenever anyone wants to access those, you will have to do an additional step, just like what we offer here at the credit union as well, that we have a second layer of security. They also provide the same feature as well too. And one of the things that you can do to request for every time that somebody's logging into one of those particular accounts, that is that, that we, you can request a text message to be sent to you. You can request a code to be sent to your personal email, or even receive a phone call with a code in order to access to those accounts. I highly encourage you that you in fact go in and activate those features on your accounts, just to that, again, gives you that peace of mind, right, that you're protecting yourself. And as I alluded to in the past, we here at the credit union, we do have the two-way authentication, that if our members haven't turned that feature on, I will highly recommend it, just because we get to see all the data, we get to see all that information that when it comes to our end, and especially, unfortunately, when we have members that have fallen victims, and then we start diving in, and we notice that we could have done more to prevent, those crimes. So again, make sure that you do that. But my recommendation is for those that use all those applications often, that you log off every time after you use it. There's no need for you to have it logged in at all times. And if you do, make sure that the devices that you're using, that you use, especially for those that do their shopping with their smartphones, that you have a locked in place, or a password. They're protected with a password or a PIN, so that it cannot just be laying around there and somebody unlocks your phone and all of a sudden they go on a shopping spree.
And that you're always connected to a secure Wi-Fi spot. Milton, back to the beneficiary designation. Does the beneficiary designation permit the individual to view count activity even if they can't transact? I'm sorry if you answered that and I'm reading an old one.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Actually, that just came in. I saw that, and no, the answer to that is no. Again, the beneficiary cannot see any transactional history, even if they come into a branch and ask to see a statement. We will not be able to provide that. Again, it goes back to what I was saying before. A beneficiary, it's only there in the case of something happens to the other person, but they cannot receive any information. They cannot transact, do any type of transactions, even if it means just looking at the transactional history. A beneficiary is not able to do that. Now, something that I mentioned before, and that is that if you would like to add a person that can have access, well, not have access, but that we can reach out to in the event if we suspect something and we're not able to get a hold of the main owner, you may do that. You can come into a branch, or you can call the number that Eddie mentioned before, and reach out to our contact center, and then we can place a note in your account, so that if we need to verify a particular transaction, we can call that individual that you stated, that you had given us permission to contact. But if we do that, we can only do it just to verify that particular transaction, but we cannot provide any more information to the other person.
Milton, you mentioned shredding documents. And I know that Eddie knows about this. We occasionally have big shred days in Alexandria at our Bowman branch. But well, one, are we having another one soon? But also the credit union, if you bring some papers to a branch, they'll shred them for you, right? One of the tellers will safely, right? But a big shred day is for all of the papers.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and yes, so if you do have if you do have multiple documents that you want to shred, we'll be more than happy to take them for you. But I do know sometimes, members might have boxes of documents they want to shred. That might be something that we perhaps we can schedule a particular, designated date. I do know that this is something that I was working with Eddie not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, actually. And stay tuned. We are planning on doing a shredding event in the summer. And maybe in July. I'm just not trying to get too ahead of myself, but we do have a shredding event that will be coming up here very soon for those that have big boxes of documents that they want to shred. But if you have a smaller, like perhaps a couple of folders that are not too bulky, we'll be more than happy to take them at a branch and we'll shred those for you. And you don't need to make an appointment or anything. Just come in and then tell them that you participated in this webinar, and then we encourage you to stop by and we'll be happy to do that for you.
All right, and like Milton was saying, we're on the works to work regarding the shredding event that we're gonna have. We're gonna let you know how many boxes you can bring, what type of documents and things like that. So stay tuned. We're gonna send out the information through email. We're gonna post it on our website as well and everywhere that, our social media. So stay tuned. We had one last year, I believe, and it was such a success. So we're gonna have one again because we know that tax season is over, like Milton was mentioning. And I know that we have documents, laying around the house. I don't know about you all, but I have all these unnecessary documents that I already have digitally. I shouldn't be keeping them in the house. So stay tuned. We're gonna, have a shred event for you all. So that way you can bring, like Milton was saying, instead of folders, you can bring boxes, and it can be any type of documents. Just make sure, just a preview. Just make sure that you don't bring staples with those documents. As long as they're loose, we can shred everything and you can see the process and everything, but stay tuned. We're gonna give information on that as well.
And of course, no charge for that when we do have shred days and stuff. And then somebody answering, because somebody asked, where are our branch locations, our most accessible branch locations? So in Alexandria, Virginia, right by the Braddock Metro Station is our Bowman headquarters. We also have one on Capitol Hill within the Senate Hart Building. So if you work for the Senate or government and are on the Hill a lot, that's open to, don't quote me, but I believe it's open to the public through the entrances now, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then GAO, but not open to the public yet all the way, and drive through on Eisenhower. So in Northern Virginia and DC. Yes.
And then you can use the search option on our website, ussfcu.org. You can type branch or locations, and then you'll see where our main branches are in the Northern Virginia / DC area. But we'll gladly be able to help you in person, online, on the phone, through that Banno chat, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we have that contact with you. And because of you all, our members, we are so thankful for each one of your businesses. And, this is the reason why we do what we do, because of people like you, because we want to make sure that you reach your financial goals and dreams. And we're here to help you with all of that as well. There was a question at the beginning, not at the beginning, but before the other questions that we read. It's basically saying thank you for all the tips that we have gave customers, regarding protecting their accounts. But what is the credit union industry doing to help these customers? I believe like maybe one of the answers could be webinars like this. Our credit union personally, we're giving these webinars so that way people can be informed of what's going on around with, the fraudsters and the older abuse and things like that. So giving these webinars is one of the things that the credit union industry is doing, specifically the United States and the Federal Credit Union, because we want to make sure that you are informed and we're trying to protect you as well. All the things that we're doing as an organization to protect our members, is like Milton was saying, highlighting those alerts. Let's say, for example, if you see a transaction going, let's say over $500, you can get an alert to your phone, to your email address saying like, hey, can you verify that this transaction is legit? So those are the things that the credit union is doing as a company to make sure that everybody's safe. Any other things that we're doing, Milton or Carrie? Do you want to add to that?
The only thing I was going to add is that, you know, the fact that we actually partner, we are a proud partner of the National Association of Senior Advocates. I mean, in fact, they actually go and lobby to make sure that, you know, that the government is in fact, you know, like looking out for this types of crimes. And I do know that Senator Bill Dodd from California, I believe, he had introduced some legislation to protect, you know, our seniors from this type of cases. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why the month of June was actually designated as a you know, elder abuse awareness month. So there are definitely things that you know that they're going on, and we try to do, you know, everything within our capabilities to make sure that we are always looking up and protecting all of our members, and especially those that are more vulnerable.
To protect and serve, no pun intended.
Our VP of compliance, he has this, I say, do the do, which is funny. So another thing that we do is, you know, our compliance team is top notch, and I know they're always on their toes at the newest practices and all of those types of things. So
Great questions, everybody. We appreciate each one of the questions, and we appreciate Milton's answers and Carrie's answer as well. As usual, this is why you do what you do. This is why you have the titles that you do, because you know what you're talking about. So we are thankful with our panelists this evening. Anything that Milton or Carrie would like to add? If not, then I think we will wrap it. But we are so thankful with each one of the people that attended.
yep.
You know, I second what you said, Eddie. And again, stay tuned. We have another webinar every Wednesday. With the exception of June 14, to give you guys a heads up, we're going to take a break on June 14. But other than that, the month of June, we are focusing especially on this type of cases. So thank you all so much for making time out of your busy schedule and coming in and listening to our webinar. We look forward to having you back in another one next week, and hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.